Hi, thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. My name is RonnieMCreations. I am a hypnotherapist. I use the QHHT method, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. It was a technique designed by Dolores Canon, who has already passed. More information about her later. And this is my first client, successful client of hypnosis. I have many now, but my first client actually didn't go under, so that's why this is client number 2. Thank you, Sue, but she didn't go under because she didn't read, we talked about this, she didn't read the paper that I had created, the PDF that I had created to help her prepare. Anyway, but I still thank you, Sue. I'm going to go over 6 sections. First of all, the first section is going to be the introduction to the client. The second section, which is actually going to be the first portion of the actual hypnosis itself, is going to be the past life information. Then, still under hypnosis, we're going to go to contacting the subconscious. Still under hypnosis, we're going to go to advice to self. And I think that should be a C. I should change that. Well, anyway, let's just change it now. And then the 5th section, which is the last section under hypnosis, is questions from the hypnotherapist. My own personal questions. By the way, I always ask permission because this is actually the client's information in client's session. It's not mine. And they're being really, really nice and kind if I ask and they allow me to ask these questions. They're giving up their time. So I'm very appreciative of that. And lastly, section 6, which is not part of the session either, but it's oddities and curiosities, just things that happen around it that are fascinating and the connections that are made. So the first section is my client. Her name is Nikki. She's a 29-year-old female. She's married with no children. She lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she is also my cousin. She's actually my second cousin. Her mother and I are second cousins. So that Nikki is my second cousin once removed. And by the way, her mom, my cousin Nina, is actually in the session, and that's kind of significant. I'll tell you about that later. And she works in healthcare. Last thing I want to say before I go into this is that there are going to be a few clips that I'm going to show you, and I went to her house for it, and they have some chihuahuas that barked the entire way through. So you're going to have to, so even though I show some small clips, you're going to hear those dogs, and if you had to listen to the whole session, you would be like phasing it out. You'd be going crazy. Okay, so anyway, but an interesting thing is that even though there was all that noise, my client went under like that and went deep for the very first time. Even though she was going deeper afterward, you'll notice that, but you'll see that. But she went in under with no effect from the noise around her. I thought that was interesting. Okay, so we're going to go into the past life information. Now, Nikki came off the cloud in a current life. Normally, coming off the cloud is the last imagery in the induction, and when they come off the cloud, they're coming off in a past life. Most of the time, it's a past life, but it's not uncommon to come into a current life like she did. The interesting thing is that during the induction, and part of the instruction is that she go to the most appropriate lifetime that would inform this lifetime, because we're here now. So that was why. But she just went into a couple of early memories. Her very first memory was she was 10 years old. I helped explore what was going on. She was in her room by herself, playing with her Darbies, completely content, and she instantly started crying because it became emotional. She became scared. Someone had entered the room. I'm going to keep that information private. It's not as bad as you think, but Just there were some things that I didn't want to share, but I thought that was interesting to share. Anyway, one of the other memories that she had was being, I think it was a year later, she was 10 years old, and it was a really good memory of both her mom and dad being at this high school swimming pool for a party over the summer, and the memory was just absolutely brilliant and heartwarming for her. And it was, I'm glad that she was able to relive that. Interestingly enough, I do have this first clip here, is the clip about Shadow Man. Now, I've known Nikki most of her life, and she, even as the other kids were younger, they talked about a Shadow Man. It's not the same, I don't think, it's not the same Shadow Man that is referred to in popular culture, urban culture. Shadow Man seems to be, all the references throughout the session are very positive. So I'm not sure what it is, but you'll hear somewhere in a little bit. But I want you to hear this short clip.
Man just has to keep moving forward.
I'm going to play that again.
Shadow Man just has to keep moving forward.
Shadow Man just has to keep moving forward. At a different time, Shadow Man was holding her hand. At a different time, Shadow Man it just seemed on behalf of her, on her side. The next clip in this past life section is just a really, really pleasant memory that I also share memories of. By the way, I chose, instead of showing her picture, I chose a picture from up north. This is one of the houses in this memory. And by the way, I'm referring to this house. This is an adobe house in northern New Mexico in a small town called Chamizal. Just an awesome place to be.
Being like we're up north now.
Being like we're up north.
Oh, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Right by Fabi's house.
Auntie
Oh, I
Fabi's house.
love that. Tell me more.
You could smell the wood burning stove.
You could smell the wood burning stove.
Homemade tortillas.
Oh, tortillas.
There's snow.
It was just amazing. I'm glad that she was also able to relive that. Okay, we're just going to go on. So we're going to go on to the next section, which is contacting the subconscious. So once we finish with all of the information that we think we can get in the past life, and we could go on to a second past life depending on where the client wants to go.